to the Who Dat Nation. Welcome to the Dome Patrol podcast, your podcast for the New Orleans Saints here on the KB Radio Network. How is everybody doing out there in the Who Dat Nation? I am your host, Kevin Reed, and today I have some good news and I have some bad news. The good news is Cam Jordan signed a new deal, which will ensure him of being a New Orleans Saints for the remainder of his career. And I couldn't have been happier for that gentleman. Love Cam Jordan, who, in my humble opinion, is a Hall of Famer. Only thing missing from his criteria is a ring. Hopefully he'll get it within the next 2 years of this contract extension that he signed. And the bad news, for the first 3 games of this upcoming season, we will be without the services of our running back, Alvin Kamara, as Roger Goodell has levied his judgment on the incident that took place last year in Las Vegas that involved Alvin Kamara in a fight, and he will be suspended for the first 3 games of this season. So we're going to go over these 2 topics, and this is going to be a short show. I just wanted to talk about them since these 2 big news pieces came out in the exact same, almost at the exact same time. When they came out this Friday morning, I was like, okay. First it was Cam Jordan signing his deal, which I was happy to hear. I mean, ecstatic to hear. And then I would say maybe an hour later, that's when I got the other piece of news that Alvin Kamara will be suspended, which, full disclosure, is no surprise. We all knew he was going to get suspended. It wasn't a matter of if, it was just a matter of when and or how long. And be honest with you, I'm happy it's over. I'm so happy it's over. For the past 2 years, we just been waiting and waiting and waiting for the decision to come about, and it has came, and now we know. Now we can press on. We can move on, and let's start with that issue. Let's start with the biggest of these pieces of news items, and that is the suspension of Alvin Kamara. And he spoke to the media. He didn't hide, or try to sugarcoat anything. He spoke with the media today. Today, the time of this recording, on Friday, August the 4th. And he was asked about it, and he was upfront and honest. And I really, really loved his response. Alvin Kamara said he felt like a weight had been lifted off of his shoulders, with this decision. And he's not alone. I feel like a weight was lifted off, just like I was saying before. We've been waiting patiently, and I'm pretty sure he was waiting patiently. And you can tell last season he wasn't the same. And it wasn't anything physical. I could tell it was mental. It was just weighing on him. And you could tell the way he was running the ball, the way he was playing all season. He wasn't Alvin Kamara. And I knew immediately that was the reason why. And we all do it in our various places of employment, no matter where we work at or what we're doing. It can affect our house, our home life, so to speak. If something is weighing heavy on your mind, you're dragging. You're not quite the same. Your significant other will notice it. Even though you're not saying anything, they'll notice it because they'll ask you, like, is something wrong? Your bosses at work is like, are you all right? Because you're not moving at the same pace. Because you have something on your mind. You're stressing over something, or you're thinking about bills, or you're thinking about your kids, or you're thinking about something is weighing on your mind. And it affects the way you work. And it affected the way Alvin Kamara was working last season. I think he had 3 touchdowns all year? 2 maybe? And I think that came in 1 game. He did absolutely nothing last season. And I believe with my heart and soul that this issue had 80 to 100% to do with it. This comes a day after Alvin Kamara met with the commissioner, Roger Goodell, in New York to give his side of the story. And when excuse me, when he made that trip, when they announced that on Thursday, I was like, it really doesn't make sense. I don't know what he could go up there and say that could change the commissioner's mind or anything to that effect. Maybe it worked, because me personally, to be honest, I thought it was going to be 6. I thought he was going to get at minimum 6 games, and he's only getting 3. So maybe his explanation cut it in half. And I'm just saying, I'm just throwing a number out there. And so who knows? But I felt it was a waste of time, me personally. But hey, I wasn't in the room. I don't know. Now, that came roughly a month after the civil and the criminal elements of the case had been dismissed or whatever. Kamara had pleaded no contest to a misdemeanor charge, and I think he had to pay, I forgot how much he paid, but it wasn't a lot. It definitely wasn't a lot. Now, Kamara had some quotes. I have some quotes from him when he spoke to the media on Friday afternoon. Yesterday, I went and I met with Roger, and it went well. I think we got accomplished what we needed to get accomplished. So I'm happy I got the chance to do that. Happy he gave me the opportunity to come up there, because obviously I know that that's not really protocol, but he gave me the opportunity and I took it and went up there and met with him, and it went well. So going by his quotes, going by what he said, maybe that's what I was saying earlier. Maybe that was the thing, because it is against not against, but it's not the road traveled, commonly, because nobody goes and really pleads their case like that to the commissioner. And I remember last year, and I read this somewhere and I could not find it, trying to research it, but I remember at one point during the season last year, he tried to meet with Goodell to try to maybe start the suspension last year, because I guess at that point, because it was late into the season, maybe in the middle part of the season, we all knew we weren't going nowhere. The Saints weren't going to do anything. And he's like, look, let me try to get this out the way now. But I think it was denied because the NFL was waiting for the case to actually take place and get a result from that. So we had to wait till all the legal stuff was out the way before the NFL could act. So he was open, and he's been open about it, and so kudos to him for that. Kamara went on to talk more about the situation, saying it's been 18, 19 months that I've been dealing with this ordeal. It's a tough ordeal to be in. I never want to be involved in something where somebody gets hurt or severely injured or anything. Poor judgment on my end, definitely a bad decision. He continued, but I'm a man. Everything I've ever done in my life, I've stood on, and I can take accountability for, and I can say when I'm wrong. And I was completely wrong. Embarrassed the Saints, embarrassed my family and my mother, embarrassed myself, embarrassed this city and the Shield, embarrassed the NFL. And I can honestly say, with those comments, no matter what you feel about the situation, I respect that. As a man, I respect that, because it takes a real man to admit when he was wrong and take full responsibility for his actions. And he's truly doing that, and I respect him to the highest degree for that. Because if you saw the video and you seen the aftermath, I mean, bruh, it was pretty brutal. So, yeah. I knew immediately, along with the rest of the Who Dat Nation and the country, knew that he was going to face some swift justice on that. I'm actually kind of shocked nothing happened criminally, but hey, it is what it is. we don't know the whole story. We don't know what led up to that actual fight. So maybe there's more to it that prompted that fight that sways in their favor. Them being Kamara and his entourage, but it was kind of a shock that it was dropped to a misdemeanor. But you know, God bless him for that. I'm happy. I'm happy. I'm happy for him. I'm happy it's all behind him. But I'm super excited and happy that he's taking full accountability for it. He's not fighting it. He's not trying to appeal it. You know, do your time and move on. He went on to say more, and I quote, "I just tried to do my best to keep it as much away from the media as much away from the team as I could. It's hard to do that when you've got an incident like that. I'd be lying if I said it wasn't tough. I've lost a lot throughout this ordeal. Definitely not looking for any pity, not looking for somebody to give me a pat on the back and say it's okay. I know what I did. I know what I was involved in, and I definitely take responsibility. That's part of being a man and growing. From here, I've just got to make the right decisions and make the right choices." I look, once again, to keep beating on this drum, beautifully said. Now, whether it's true or not, and I know there's going to be the doubters and the haters out there that's going to say, oh, he's just saying that to the media, you know, to save face and all this here. Look, I'm going to take the man at his word. If that's what he's saying, I'm going to believe him. You know, now, if he proves me wrong later on down the line, I will say, well, I was wrong. But as it stands right now, I'm going to take him at his word. I believe that he was hurt. I believe because Alvin Kamara has never gotten into any mess like this. You know what I'm saying? So it was kind of out of character for him to do this. And so it is what it is. Now, as far as the Saints are concerned, with those 3 games that we will be missing Alvin Kamara, the Saints have been preparing for this for months. They knew this was coming down the line, and they knew the reality that he was going to miss some time, just didn't know how long. The Saints signed running back Jamal Williams in free agency. Last year, he led the league with 17 rushing touchdowns. And he is a running back who can catch the ball out of the backfield. He didn't do it that much in Detroit because that wasn't the style of offense they were running. But so far in training camp, he's been doing it, and he's been doing it well. I watched some highlights from camp, and it looks like they're not even going to miss a beat from that aspect. And he can catch. He can definitely catch, and he is one of the best north to south runners in football. Trust me, Jamal Williams was a real big steal in free agency. Also, Saints added a rookie running back out of TCU, Kendrick Miller, who they drafted in the 3rd round, who, to be 100% honest with you, I don't know much about Kendrick Miller, but I did see some highlights. I think I saw a game that he played, and he was pretty decent in the game. But if you just go by the highlight reel, which once again is also deceiving because that's all your highlights. It's not like it's full games. It's not going to show your bad plays. It's just your good plays. But the good plays look good. And so I'm a little encouraged by that. Now, Dennis Allen did say that I'm excited about the running back room that we have. I think we got a little bit more depth at that position than maybe what we had in the past. We got guys who can do a variety of things. And this is true. Like I was saying, those guys can carry the load in the absence of Kamara. Not to say they can replace him. You know, the jury's out on that. We need to see some actual football, which we're not too far away from. But we won't know until they actually take the field. But, I mean, let's be honest. Nobody can replace Kamara. The only thing we can hope and wish and pray from these two individuals is that they can carry the load until he comes back. I mean, 3 games going to go quick. And at least I'm praying that. I mean, our first 3 games is what? We have week 1 is Tennessee. Then you have Carolina. And then we go to Green Bay. So those aren't, with the exception of Tennessee maybe, those aren't the strongest defensive teams. So we might be all right. I hope and pray. I hope and pray we shall see. So that's the latest with Alvin Kamara. He will be suspended for the first 3 games of this upcoming season. I'm glad this is over. I'm telling you, I'm like him. If I can just imagine how he feels, because I feel like a weight is off my shoulder. And so I can just imagine the relief he has with all this going to be behind him, because this isn't over yet. I know those 3 weeks are going to be painful sitting at home, not being able to be around the team. But hopefully we'll get enough reps in training camp. We'll still see him in the preseason, but once regular season starts, he must go home for 3 weeks. And so that's the bad. Let's move on to the good. And this is great, actually. This couldn't have happened to a better player. One of the all-time greatest Saints, in my humble opinion. Throughout the offseason, there was a lot of discussion surrounding a contract extension for Cam Jordan. Will he stay a Saint? Will he finish his career as a Saint? How is this going to work out? I know the Saints have been tinkering in the draft, trying to find a replacement, but they just can't. For whatever reason it is, we just cannot find a replacement. And he's not ready to be replaced, if you want to be honest. He's still one of the best defensive ends in the NFL. Once again, my humble opinion, Saints defensive end Cam Jordan gets a 2-year, $27.5 million extension, which is fully guaranteed. This ties him to New Orleans until 2025. Cam Jordan is 34 years old, and this new contract offers the most guarantees and average salary in NFL history for a defensive player at his age. Cam Jordan, he is an 8-time Pro Bowl selection and the Saints franchise leader in career sacks. Hopes that the new deal will keep him in New Orleans until he retires. Cam overtook Hall of Fame linebacker from the Dome Patrol, Ricky Jackson, as the franchise sack leader last year with 115.5 sacks. And he ranks second in the NFL amongst active players. He's only behind Von Miller, who has 123.5 sacks. Cam is shooting for Jackson's unofficial franchise sack record of 123, as the NFL did not officially recognize sacks when Ricky Jackson was a rookie, his rookie season. They didn't start calculating it till his second year. Cam has played in 192 games as a Saint, the 4th most in franchise history. He's on track to surpass Ricky Jackson once again, who has 195 games played as a Saint, and Morton Anderson, who played 196 games as a Saint this season, to move into second, which leaves him only behind Drew Brees, who played 228 games. He is the only player ahead of him. This is awesome. I am so happy. Another tidbit, Cam Jordan, in his 13 years, I think they're going into his 13th year. He has only missed 1 game. And you want to know the reason he missed that game? He got COVID. But you want to hear something even crazier? It was a false positive. And so technically he He should have played that game. And so he has, and I'm going to give it to him. He's never missed a game for no reason. Knock on wood. Knock on wood. He has never been hurt to the point where he had to miss a game, injuries, stuff like that. Once again, knocking on wood, beating wood down. I hope nothing happens for the remainder of his career. But the dude is an Iron Man. For the longest time, he never took plays off. I think recently they started subbing him out, but for the majority, he never took plays off. The dude is a machine, and at the age of 34, that is highly impressive. I'm 10 years older than him, and I can remember 10 years ago, I wasn't that active either. So you can imagine how I don't move now. That's probably why I sit here and do a podcast, because I can't do anything else at least active. But man, I'm so happy that we have locked up Cam Jordan for these 2 years. That gives us 2 years to weed out, so to speak, this defensive line, this defensive end. I mean, you have Carl Granderson, you have Peyton Turner, you have Isaac Forksky. I mean, we have some players here that needs to step it up. Who's going to be that heir apparent? And you have 2 years. 2 years. We shall see. But we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. We do know that he will play this season and for the next couple of seasons, and I'm happy. But Dad, that's the news today. I just wanted to come in and talk about those 2 bits of news because they are important, strongly important for this franchise, being without the services of Alvin Kamara for the first 3 weeks, but locking down one of the best New Orleans Saints to ever put on the uniform for the next 2 years in Cam Jordan. So that's the news, man. That's the news. If more news come about in the coming weeks leading up to the season, you know I'm going to return. I can't wait for football. Oh, I can't wait for some actual football. But I would like to know, how do you feel about these turn of events here? The Alvin Kamara suspension. Do you feel this was justified? Do you feel there should have been more games? Do you feel it shouldn't have been any games? Or do you feel it's just right? Also, Cam Jordan, are you okay with the 2-year extension? Do you feel it's time to move on? Or do you feel maybe they should have gave him a 5-6 year extension? Look, the man's 34 years old. And to be honest with you, at that age, at that position, it's a miracle that he's playing at the level he is. It is nothing short of amazing. I would like to know. Let me know by emailing the show, kbradiopodcast@gmail.com. You can also look me up on all social media platforms. Just look up the KB Radio Network. Don't forget about YouTube, ladies and gentlemen. Look for the KB Radio Network channel, subscribe to the channel, and like this video if you don't mind. Don't forget about the 5 stars, the reviews, and sharing this show. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, wherever you are currently listening to the Dome Patrol podcast here on the KB Radio Network. Everyone, thank you for joining me for this edition of the Dome Patrol. Can't wait to speak to you in the coming weeks when we discuss the New Orleans Saints. Until then, you can find me by listening to me scream, "Who dat?"